Start on the hind legs, you go up the hind quarter of the legs to the rear end. Just start here real quick, like. The less meat you cut on the hide, the easier it is to flesh him. Just take him and work it all the way up to the tail of the coyote. And you just start peeling that fat, meat and stuff away from the hide. Like I said, the less meat you put on it, that's on the fur, the easier it is to put on the stretcher when it's all done. Just work both sides. This one here, take down. Come over here and do the same thing as I did on the other side. Pretty simple. You want a good knife. If you don't, it makes twice the work out of it. Just go down to the tendon here, and I just take my knife and I go under and I peel her, and pull her down. Okay? Do the same thing with this leg. Skin into the hind quarter. Just go all the way up to the tail. Try not to go too deep with your knife. Makes it a lot easier. See, the meat ain't there, so you have to cut it off. You just work it. Take your time so you don't cut the hide. First time, always hardest. Do this side too. Work her down. Pass that tendon. Put your thumb through there, knife here. Get some of that. Okay, you pull this down just like that. Now that I got the legs peeled down, I'm going to hang him up and pull the tail here, and I'll show you how to do that without ripping the tail off. Got him hanging out there. I'm going to pull that hide down at least, well, as far as you can see here, so when you pull that tail, that it don't bust the tail off. I recommend you take your knife and cut down just a little ways. That always makes it a little easier. You pull it down to about there, and you cut around it with your knife. Makes it come out a lot easier. And all I did is take a stick with a 1/2-inch hole in it, drill the hole in there, put it on the tail, and pull her out. And also, to make sure the tail don't slip, you got to finish cutting that tail down. Otherwise, that fur will slip. Then you come around and you cut the belly. And she's pretty much ready to pull. First, you got to do the front legs here. I'll take a minute to do that. Go to the elbow of the coyote. That's how I do her. Make a cut on this side, one on this side. Put your thumb through there like I did on the back legs. Put your knife in there, peel her. Like that. Pull her up a little bit so it's easier to pull the leg out when you get the fur down there. Same thing on this side. A couple quick cuts with the knife. Be careful though. I've done her for quite a while, so first time skinner, you might put a hole in it. Cut her off and pull her up a little bit. Okay, she's ready to peel. Let me just turn him around here a little bit. Machine down. Clamps on here. This one here. Make sure you got a good hold on that fur because it'll rip it if it's not good. Hold that back to it. Let the machine do the work. Okay, that's all the farther you go because of the legs. You got to pull them legs out. I just take my knife and work around that a little bit. Be careful. Be careful. Pull this down in between the chest a little bit. Kind of work it down. Okay, and I use a screwdriver will work just as good as this, but something with a pretty, not a sharp sharp point, otherwise you put a hole in the hide. Just run this alongside the hide, and you can pull that down. Take your knife. Big coyote, Tom. Nice coyote. Now here's that leg where I cut up to that first elbow. And I pulled out. See, all that fur's there. No big hole or nothing. You gotta do the same thing to the other side. Up a little bit. Tough hide, bugger. Just take your sharp object. This big screwdriver works good, flat-headed screwdriver. You stick it through there and you pull that down. Like that. And you take your knife and you finish cutting it like that. And you come to the fur. Makes it a lot easier. You pull that out of there and you finish taking the work to the ears. That's an important step too. You don't want to cut before you get to the ears. Kind of work her around. And how you tell when you get to the ears, it's kind of you can see the gristle and it's kind of hollow. It pushes in and comes back up. You can pretty well tell there, you can see it. Same here. Just kind of take your time and work it over. Good knife, gotta have a good sharp knife. And cut them ears off right there. About down to the head. You don't want to cut it too short because you can't get your thumb in there finger in there to pull it back to cut the eyes. Just keep working it until you get to one of the eyes. You can see where them are at, right there. You can kind of, pretty much tell where everything's at. Be careful so you don't cut a big eye in them. If you want a nice pelt, makes it sell a lot better. Cut the nose off and peel her down. Usually I cut that off, so that's how I mark my fur, but on Tom's here, I'll take all that. And there you got your hide. Perfect shape. Nice coyote, Tom. Nice. A real nice coyote. Now, if you want to take this hide here, you got to get this fat off of him here. Otherwise that fur will slip if he doesn't get cured right. And I do that on my pole here. And this is where when I started at first, when I first put the coyote on the table, I take the burrs out when you're fleshing your furs. If you don't take them burrs out, you're going to rip this hide because of that bump in there. You got to have that fur clean. And you take my fleshing knife and you just continue taking that fat off of the fur. And you do it like on both front legs. You can flip them around. And you just take the fat off here a little bit more. Just so there's no fat on there, otherwise the hide won't dry and you'll get that fur will slip when you go to tan it or something, even before. You just make it nice and clean like that. And when you do that to the whole pelt, even down here and stuff, you get it all off. When you get it clean, you can put it on a stretcher, and it's a swivel stretcher. It hinges up at the joint here, right here. I just have a leather strap on there, and it don't matter which way you put it on, inside out, of course, at first. With the hide out, and you pull it down long instead of wide. You want your skin to be as long as you can. And when you go to tighten it up, like here, my tightener, you can kind of see how it swivels here. Get this loose, okay? Like that. You don't want to push down as hard as you can because that makes the hide really thin and not as good. If you just snug it up like that, tighten her up, and pull things out, pull the ears out, makes a nicer fur when it's dried. And then you set that somewhere where it's warm. You don't want too intense a heat because it'll dry it too fast and it'll be just as hard and brittle as can be. And when you go to turn it inside out, like this here, to put it back on the stretcher, it would rip it. And you let it, like in my place here, I usually leave them for about 5 hours to dry. And that way they're not over dried, but they're dried enough that you can put it back on the stretcher like this, pull them ears out again, that way they'll dry nice like that. Come around here, pull them front legs, you know, that's dry, you know, it'll be nice and dry that way. And just make sure it's on the stretcher nice. You can see how everything's lined up. The nicer the pelt is, you guys, the more money you're going to get for it. It all works out. You can trap all day, but if you don't get a good skin put up, you're not going to, it will be all in vain.